Tatiana fled the Ukraine in a tattered dress, barefoot and terrified. She buried all her belongings in the backyard and was desperate to escape. The Russians were coming. The year was 1943, and Tatiana was my grandmother. Her painful 2-month journey with her young family led her to Czechoslovakia, feet bruised and bloodied. Later, they were displaced in Germany, where they endured 4 years in the refugee camps. The war would claim the lives of her eldest son, Philip, and her daughter, Justina, who was beaten to death and left by her apple tree. Through all of this, my grandmother's purpose was to survive the war and to protect her family, no matter what the cost. Her struggle was part of my journey. After the war ended, my mother began her journey into Canada. She was 16 and forced to travel alone. They falsified her papers to pass her as 18. My grandmother gave her old boots and worn clothes so she could look older, and she passed through. Throughout the years, my mother witnessed her mother's strength, courage, and resilience, and she lived with a joyful heart and few necessities. She worked very hard with my father to provide a happy home for us. She finally experienced freedom. Despite that, my mother's life was not without its own struggles. During the war, my father was responsible to dig the graves for the dead soldiers. And later, his PTSD caused difficulties in the marriage and the home life. And many times he wasn't able to consistently work. My mother also saw the suffering of her eldest son, my brother Walter, who died at the age of 43. She got to be with him, to see him, and to hold his hand as he uttered his final words, "Mommy, I love you." Her struggle was part of my journey. I grew up immersed in Ukrainian culture. Singing and dancing filled my heart with joy. I followed my dreams and married my high school sweetheart and dedicated many years to my career and becoming a teacher. My biggest accomplishment was my $1 million family, one beautiful daughter and a beautiful son. My life has been both blissfully beautiful and poignantly painful. And just like my mother and my grandmother before her, the journey has not been without struggle and sacrifice. The perfect marriage, broken. The $1 million family, taken. 24 years ago, my life was shattered. My life was shattered when my baby boy was suddenly and shockingly taken away from me. Finding him breathless and cold in his crib was the most painful moment of my life. Paralyzed in my grief and sunken in the despair of my struggle, I was unsure how to go on. And then miraculously, I was blessed with another beautiful son. Life had given me a second chance. As I reflect on the 3 generations and the wisdom and the legacy of my mother and grandmother, I understand that we serve a higher purpose than just ourselves. Each of us having lost a son and a home. Each of us experiencing great pain and great joy. Each of us persevering for our families. Struggle is the function of evolution. Loss, tragedy, failures, all realigning us and redirecting us into a new course of our life. Because with every dark moment, there is light and there is hope. My evolution into the woman I am today is due to generations of strong Ukrainian women before me, striving for freedom through hope and gratitude. And today, as I look at my own daughter, free-spirited, hopeful, and resilient, I know her life is enriched because of the women before her, my grandmother, my mother, each and every Ukrainian woman fighting for survival today. Our journey is part of her.